Episode 11 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Season 2 is here. Halfway point of the 23-24 AHL season is fast approaching as the Belleville Sens get set to head to Utica and Laval this week. They'll also welcome the Rocket to CAA Arena coming up on Saturday for Bell Let's Talk Night, where we share the importance of making mental health a priority and talk a little bit about how we deal with our mental health. And that's Saturday, and we'll recap last week's games as well. Sens picking up a couple more wins and a loss as well in Toronto, bringing an end to the 7-game win streak. Plus a special guest this week as former Belleville Sens All-Star Drake Batherson will join us from Ottawa on the line to talk a little bit about his season right now with the big club and share some memories of his time here in the Friendly City. So thanks for being with us. David Foote and Brock Ormond here. Before we get going, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. A road-heavy schedule these next few weeks, so it might make for some different publishing times of the Belleville Sens podcast. So make sure to subscribe. Throw us a rating and a review. We'd appreciate that as well. Mixed bag week for the Belleville Sens this week. Brock, something we haven't had to say in a few weeks. And mixed but still pretty good outcomes for Belleville as they shut out the Manitoba Moose. Their win streak ends by being shut out in Toronto against the Marlies, but then they get some payback on Toronto at home on the Sunday matinee as well. So not a bad week overall.
No, it was worked out pretty well. They still won 8 out of 9 and had a great performance against Manitoba last Wednesday, shutting them out. And then, mixed bag, like you said, against the Toronto Marlies. One of those games on Friday where just nothing seemed to go in for them, nothing seemed to go right, but it did start out okay. Kevin Mandolese was great in that first period and kept the Sens in it when they were maybe pressing a little bit for goals, and then all of a sudden the Marlies just turn it on in the second and then really put the boots to them in the third. Ryan Tuerberg with 4 goals for the Marlies. Former Toronto junior Canadian, remember calling him back in his days in the OJHL. Now he went to University of Connecticut. Now he's in Toronto, but good on him. But tough for the Sens, but they bounce back, and that's the key in a season where sometimes you're not going to always have your best game every night. You come in and you come back at home in front of a rabid crowd, too. Almost 4,300 there on Sunday afternoon, which is outstanding. Great crowd. A lot of Sens fans that really enjoyed. A lot of kids, too, in the crowd. It was just outstanding, and the Sens really fed off of that, jumping out to that 3-0 lead in the first. Marlies cut it a little close in the second as they caught a bit of a second wind after that Friday game, but then Belleville pretty much took it home in that third period, and they were not afraid to mix it up a little bit, which was great to see. Showed a lot of fight, a lot of bite back against a Marlies team that was really riding high off of that big shutout win on Friday. So all in all, a great team effort, and guys that need to score did. Igor Sokolov was there. Jacob Larson scoring from the point. Yuri Smekel with a couple of goals, his first 2 back since coming back from the Ottawa Senators. So great balanced effort, and the Belleville Sens were full credit for those 2 points on Sunday.
Yeah, and really have become a strong team at home this season, which is not something that has been the case in the last couple of years. Sends closer to 500, but right now I think they're like 5 games over 500 here at home, and I think that's really making a difference for this team. And it's so important to capitalize on those home games and pick up victories, especially in a month like this where you're only playing 3 games at home. Everything else has to be done on the road, so nice to see the Sens get that win on home ice, both on Wednesday and on Sunday.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? With only so many home games, we talked about at the beginning of the month, really need to dig down and get those points, and they have through the first 2, and they could go 3-0 if they can take a victory on that return trip back home to face the Laval Rocket. They've had a lot of success against them this year. They've beaten them twice already here at CAA Arena. So very much a 3-0 record is within reach, but can't look too far ahead. They got Utica, who's a very good team, and then Laval in Laval at Place Bell before that. But yeah, the home record has been outstanding, and the fans have really taken to this team and have shown that this is a group that you can get behind, because most of the guys have been here all season, and you're starting to get to know how they operate a little bit. And it seems like more and more coming off of there's one point where they didn't play at home during the COVID-19 pandemic, so it almost seems like they're appreciating playing here at home more. And CAA Arena can be a really intimidating building when you get all the fans in there and rocking like they were, especially on Sunday, with probably, I would say, the best crowd of the season.
Yeah, one of them for sure. We've had a few up over that 4,000 mark, which is always nice to see. A couple other things you pointed out over the course of the week. The goaltending in Toronto in the 8-0 loss. Really interesting story there, because at about 6-0, Dave Bell called Kevin Mandolese to the bench and said, "Hey, Mando, do you want to come out? It's obviously not going great for you." And Kevin Mandolese said, "No, I'm going to finish the game." And much to his credit, he went back in and he did that. Now, the reason was because Levi Merolainen had just come in from Texas after Matt Sogard was recalled to the NHL. They needed to fill that backup void, and it ended up being about a 14-hour or so travel day for Merolainen. He did get to the rink in time to dress and to back up, and technically would have been available to play, but that's a nice team move by Kev Mandolese to say, you know what, my numbers are getting absolutely mangled right now on a tough night out, but it's also not fair to put the young buck in and make him have to go through this with the day that he's had. And then look at what happens on Sunday. Merolainen comes in and he gets the start, and he gets the win in his return to the AHL, and I think that's just, again, a little bit of a testament to the close-knitness of the goaltending department here in Belleville.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you like to see, because sometimes some teams have goalies where they're battling with each other, they're competing with each other, they see each other as competitors or adversaries, so to speak, but these guys don't. And Matt Sogard, who's up in Ottawa now, Mandolese and Merolainen have all been pretty close, and they fed off each other, and that's made for a more successful year for all three of them, really. And even with Levy going to the ECHL's Allen Americans, he's gotten a lot of learned experience down there and in Texas. And that's what you like to see for a goalie that is going to be the future of this organization, really. So Sogard, Mandolese, and Merolainen all feeding off each other well. It's great to see. And Mando with a textbook grade A good guy move to let Levi Merolainen catch his breath, get off the plane, and just have a little bit of a time to sit there and just watch and learn, and then come in Sunday and play a really good game like he did. So that all paid off, and Kevin Mandolese, of course, will bounce back from that as well. That's one of those games where just nothing goes right, although, like I said, he really kept them in it in the first.
Yeah, and he's been so good lately, and you talk about Levi Merolainen getting that experience in the ECHL. I think he had won 6 straight starts or something like that coming back up here. So, certainly the goaltending department ticking along, and ticking along so well that it drew the interest of the parent club with news breaking this week that Justin Peters has been promoted to the goaltending coach in Ottawa and will now go up and try to solidify what's going on in the crease up there with Anton Forsberg, who's hurt, and Eunice Korpisalo, and now Matt Sogard as well. And, I mean, for Sogi's sake, that's going to make that transition a lot easier. Not that it's his first time or he's never been there or never had success in the NHL, but when the guy who's been basically guiding you through your development comes up to the show with you, that's got to be a big payoff for him. I'm sure they're both really happy about that.
Yeah, it is. That's outstanding. And Justin Peters, was about to mention that too, that Justin Peters got a chance to go up to Ottawa and take over for Zach Burke, and it's well deserved for him. He's a guy that's really brought these guys together and helped mold them, and of course a couple before that as well, he was helping out guys like Dylan Ferguson who are now not with the organization anymore. But that's a big thing, and you heard the fans up in Ottawa rave about him too, saying that he's done so well with Belleville and getting them all to fit together and to play the game that they need to play to be a professional goaltender, be a successful professional goalie. So Sogard and Peters have that relationship already, which is really great to see, and well-deserved for Petey, because he's definitely put his time in, and the AHL has definitely been good to him, and Dave Bell's really excited too, I imagine, to get him up there. Yeah,
and no word, before anybody asks, no word on what's happening in terms of a goaltending coach here in Belleville. I think they're just going to keep motoring forward for the time being, and obviously we'll update you when we get some news on that. A couple more notes before we get to Drake Batherson, our featured guest this week, to talk a bit about his time in Belleville, the current season in Ottawa, and his AHL All-Star experiences, among other topics. Jacob Larson scoring for the Sens the other night. You'd mention that as well, Brock. And on the broadcast, Tim Durkin was flipping through our stat pack that our interns Chris and Lindsay in the communications department have been doing an excellent job in keeping up to date. But he stumbled upon some notes about Jacob Larson and his performance as it relates to the Belleville Sens team success this season, namely that when Larson is in the lineup, the Sens are 18, 5, 2, and 3. When he records a point, they're unbeaten in regulation, 8-0, 1-0. And when Jacob Larson scores a goal, the Sens are 4-0. Now, 2 of those goals have been overtime winners, so that does help that stat a little bit. But it just goes to show the type of player, the type of calming presence, the type of true professional, and I think leader that Jacob Larson is for this hockey club. Yeah,
and Larson is a mobile defenseman, moves well, and yeah, offensively, he's chipped in at various points this year, and even if he doesn't do that, his defensive game has really been solid and steady, and he's stonewalled a lot of really good forwards in the AHL, particularly in the North Division, and gotten his chance in Ottawa as well. He's done really well in terms of learning and listening, because with new coaches, new assistant coaches, including a new defensive coach, it can be a little bit difficult to adjust to what they want you to do versus what you've learned from past coaches maybe, or maybe even earlier than that in your junior or minor days. So give good on Jacob Larson for learning and maybe adjusting his game a little bit, and it seems like it's really paid off for him. A couple of clutch goals too, like you said. Remember that comeback goal, or the overtime winner he had in the comeback game against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins back in early November. That was a highlight for sure of my watching that. So he's been great this season, and all in all, he'll be the type of guy that gets those top 4 minutes and really pushes the paces of his other teammates, because he makes his other D partners better, which is what you want to see from a guy like him. All right, and the last thing to look at as we roll through the standings and the stats. So Belleville is still in third place in the North Division, now sitting with 40 points. Come into the week, 2 points back of Syracuse for second, and only 8 points back of the Cleveland Monsters in first place. So again, some steady and consistent performances on the ice are seeing Belleville climb up the standings. They're only .012% back of the Syracuse Crunch if you're looking at the win percentage as well. We did see some change in the statistical leaders for the first time in a few weeks. Igor Sokolov, as you mentioned, had a really good week. He's now the points leader for Belleville this season, 23 points for him, 11 goals. He leads the team in that category too. Max Gannett still the assist leader with 18. Sokolov, 6 power play goals. No change on the shorthanded front. Cruikshank, Ostapchuk, and Pilon each have 1. Speaking of defensemen, Nicholas Montempalo is a +9. Team leading, which is extremely impressive. And then Matt Sogard still the goals against average and save percentage leader for this team. I do want to talk a little bit more defense after we hear from Drake Batherson, because there's a pretty big milestone coming up this week for Lassie Thompson as well, so we'll touch on that coming up. Transaction-wise, Jared Lukasavicius was released. Taryn Fizer was loaned to the Allen Americans, though he may be on the way back with Roby Arvetti out injured, and Garrett Pilon leaving the game on Sunday as well. And we talked about the goaltending changes. Levi Marilainen back in Belleville. Matt Sogard is back in Ottawa to try to help the parent club pick up some victories as they head into the second half of the season. Again, games this week: Wednesday at Utica, Friday at Laval, and Saturday here at home against the Laval Rocket. We will tee up all of those matchups when we come back after hearing from Drake Batherson. He'll be our guest when we return. Again, one of the all-time leaders in a whole bunch of categories for the Belleville Sens. At least he was before Igor Sokolov took over a lot of those categories. Drake still in top 3, top 5, and holds a bunch of rookie records for this franchise as well. So we will talk to him when we come back. It's episode 11 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Drake Batherson joins us next on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network. Stick around.
Big divisional games will make February huge. Let your Belleville Senators hear you cheer.
Benny on the near half wall, back to Gannett, cross it goes, Sokolov shoots and scores!
Friday, February 9th, 7 p.m. Your Sens play the Utica Comets, AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils, for Super Friday with many football giveaways for the first 1,500 fans. More in 2024 with your Belleville Senators. See BellevilleSens.com.
Go, Sens, go!
Back on the Belleville Sens podcast, episode 11. We're about to hear from Drake Batherson, named twice to the AHL All-Star Classic as a member of the Belleville Sens. Got a recall, so only went once. We'll talk to him about his All-Star experience in just a moment. But in terms of names that resonate with fans in this city, in this region when it comes to the Belleville Senators, Brock, I think Drake Batherson's got to be at the top of the list. He was really the first superstar player for Ottawa that wasn't here when the team arrived in 2017-18 and made his presence felt immediately. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, at one point, team leader in points and goals and a whole bunch of other categories. What sticks out to you when you hear the name Drake Batherson?
Well, he was a dynamite player to watch when he was in Belleville, and like you said, he didn't come here originally, but when he arrived, he got a lot of eyeballs from a lot of people, and after his great career in junior, he comes to Belleville in the 18-19 season, 62 points in 59 games, and that shows that he was ready for professional hockey, and he was just outstanding. Got his first few games in the NHL, then went on to play 44, had 54 points in 19-20, and he would have been on that Sens team that would have probably made a pretty good run at the Calder Cup. And, of course, we all know what happened there and don't need to dwell on that. But Batherson was a brilliant player. Every time he was out there, you sensed something special was going to happen because he was so quick with his stick. And he was able, because of his bigger frame, he was able to elude guys while almost having guys bounce off of him. And he made a lot of guys look really good. Of course, he was good himself and put up a lot of points here. Definitely was one of the fan favorites, even, for sure. One of those guys that the talented players, I mean, they get all the attention, and sometimes fans really stick to the guys that are maybe not as strong or not as talented, but they push forward, and they're one of the best players in terms of effort in that. But Batherson was both, and that's something that really got him to Ottawa, and he's garnered a lot of attention and praise from DJ Smith and now Jacques Martin, and it seems like he's going to be a part of that Ottawa team for a long time coming, and it's all thanks to his development here in Belleville under the former head coach Troy Mann, who did a really good job working with him, and seems like those two guys go hand in hand because they both arrived at the same time, and Batherson was definitely a dynamite player, and the skill and speed that he had was something to watch every single night. It was really great to watch him play, and now you can say that he's one of those many Belleville Sens that have made a difference in Ottawa, too.
Well, why don't we hear right from the man himself, Drake Batherson, our guest this week on episode 11 of the Belleville Sens podcast. Thanks for taking the time, Drake. Really appreciate it. I know things are pretty busy for you guys right now.
Yeah, no problem at all. Happy to be on and talk about all the great memories I had down there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with your season in Ottawa right now. Obviously, it's not where you guys were hoping to be at the start of the season, but how would you kind of describe how the campaign has been, especially with everything that's gone on off the ice this season? It's been a little bit different.
Yeah, no, obviously coming in, adding a few guys over the summer, there was pretty big expectations for our team, and we were all excited for the challenge we had coming into the season, and obviously got off to a pretty okay start, and then obviously didn't play as well as we wanted before Christmas and after lately. But I know you just kind of got to block out the noise, come into the rink, and this is what we all love doing. You got to just put a smile on your face and work as hard as you can. And, no one's going to feel bad for you from the outside. So you just kind of got to stick together, have as much fun as you can. It's tough when you're losing, but at the end of the day, that's all you can do. Just enjoy it and just work your way out of it.
I mean, it doesn't seem like the club is that far off from finding that success. It's in reach. Obviously, it's a talented group there in Ottawa, but maybe just a reminder, I suppose, of how difficult the National Hockey League is as a whole.
Yeah, no, any night, even in the AHL and the NHL, no matter who you're playing, it's not a guaranteed win. So you got to come in and have the same mindset, whether you're playing, defending Cup champs or a team in the bottom of the standings. And yeah, it's obviously tough, just to get a win on any given night. And yeah, you just got to come in and be ready to go and give the best you can. And I think the most consistent teams are the ones that make the playoffs. And we just got to find that groove, get on a roll, and anything can happen.
Well, you did a fair bit of winning here in Belleville with the Belleville Sens, and this club is on a pretty good run of play right now. So wanted to catch up and talk a little bit about the impact that the Belleville Senators have had on the Ottawa Senators in the last few years. I mean, you guys have like 10 players right now who started in Belleville. And I think that just kind of shows that impact that this team has with the big club.
No, for sure. I mean, obviously we had a lot of good teams down there. My first year, we had to win the last game to get in the playoffs. Unfortunately, didn't. And then my second year, I think we were first place across the whole league. So, and then COVID hit, which was unfortunate. It was probably the most fun I've ever had in a season of hockey with that group of guys down there. And we were really looking forward to, all just going into the playoffs and seeing what we could do. And we were a young skilled team, but we had some older guys who had been around and led us in the right direction. And I say it all the time to my buddies, the most fun I've ever had was my second year in Belleville there. And yeah, no, obviously the turnover of guys, even from my first year in Belleville that are playing, across other teams, like Andreas England, he's now in LA, obviously Nick Paul and a few other guys. I can't really think of everyone right now. And then now currently on my team, obviously played with Josh Norris on the line down there. Had a lot of success, and there's a few other guys that are here. So no, it's definitely. I think there's a stat in the league: 98% of the NHL play in the AHL before coming up. Look at a guy like Nikita Kucherov. He played in Syracuse, and he was arguably one of the most dominant players in the league now. So pretty well everyone played down there before coming up here, and I think as a player, unless you're a legit superstar, it's not bad for you to play down there, and you're only going to get better and just learn to be a pro down there for sure.
Chatting with Sens forward Drake Batherson, you mentioned that 1920 team, and I think every day at the rink somebody is still talking about that group, the firepower, the potential for success there, and I think a lot of people here are, even a few years later, still kind of sour about the way that all ended. It still kind of feels like an opportunity was taken away.
100%. I mean, when I run into guys who I play with on that team, just talk about all the great memories, and then obviously what could have been, right? We were a pretty dominant team. We had some great role players on that team too. I think of guys like Jordan Murray, Jack Doherty, Cole Castles was there for a while, along with so many other guys that just played a great role in the team that helped us young guys just have success up front. And just the bond we had, the bus trips, we almost never wanted them to end. We had so much fun just every day at the rink. And obviously when you're winning's easy, but just the group we had a blast, along with the trainers, Maddie, Mikey, and Belf, all those guys I'm still close with. It was just an awesome group. And yeah, definitely missed those times and wish we could have went into the playoffs and brought some playoff hockey to Belleville for sure.
Well, hopefully, if things keep trending in the right direction, this will be the year that the Belleville Sens get past that play-in round and into the Calder Cup playoffs officially, if I use the air quotes. What advice would you give to some of those players that are going up and down? And what's it like to kind of see so many guys, even this year, come from Belleville, make their NHL debuts, and to be able to be kind of a part of that as an alumnus of this AHL team as well?
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. Whenever a guy gets called up, it kind of brings you back to your memory of getting called up. And, I think of Crookshank a little bit ago, he got called up, and, he's a guy kind of like myself, a late round draft pick who kind of had to earn his way up. And, he did that. He's a hardworking kid, cares a lot about the game. And, just shows if you put the time in and you're committed, you can earn a call up, and he did that and scored his first goal. So I love stories like that, later round picks and stuff like that. But for anyone to get called up, it's obviously super special day for them, and just brings you back the memories of, like I said, you getting that call up, and it's the best feeling in the world. And they bring so much energy when they get called up too, which is awesome.
Yeah, not that Crooker always brings that energy, it feels like, and he's been recognized as an AHL All-Star this year along with Max Gannett, and you were a two-time All-Star in this league. If you think back to that point, what did that mean to you at that time in your career, and what do you remember about the AHL All-Star experience?
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. I did it my rookie year, so things were kind of crazy for me. Got off to a hot start there, my first year pro in Belleville, and then I kind of got called up for 20 games, came back down, and then I was right to the All-Star game. So it was just kind of a world of emotions put into like 3 months that I just couldn't believe. And going there, I think I was the youngest guy there, and just kind of had a blast. Just kind of kept my mouth shut, really. And no, it was just a super fun time. And yeah, the second year I think I got called up right before the game, and a few other guys got to go. So no, it's just a super cool experience to do something like that. Go to a city and take part in an All-Star game, and I just had a blast thinking back to every memory, really, and couldn't thank my teammates and my line mates enough for getting me to that game. And yeah, just want to represent the organization well when you go to an event like that.
And for those guys, like for Max and for Angus, how big of an achievement is this? Like, how much should they hang their hats on being named as an All-Star? Because in any league, it's a difficult thing to do, especially here in the American Hockey League.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the American Hockey League is one of the most underrated leagues in the world. It's a really tough league. I mean, if you can score 20 down there, it's a pretty good year, I feel like. So I think the guys that lead the league in goals are usually around 35. I remember my first year, I think the guy had 33 goals who led the league in scoring. So it's a tough league to produce in, and for those guys to be having the seasons they're having and getting recognized is super awesome, and they deserve it. And yeah, no, just super happy for those guys, and they should be proud of themselves for sure.
It's going to be a wild one with travel. A Saturday night in Syracuse, and then fly out to San Jose for Sunday All-Stars. So
Wow.
It'll be an experience for sure.
Oh, big time. Yeah, a couple connection flights, I'm sure, out of Syracuse.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more minutes here with Senators forward Drake Batherson, former Belleville Senator. And we mentioned off the top, your name is scattered all over the Belleville Senators record books. But, recently your pal Igor Sokolov has passed you for some of those records. Wondering how much you might hear from Soko about his success here and kind of usurping you in some of those categories.
Yeah, no, it's funny you bring that up. I think he beat me for the point record or something like that, and right away I had a text after the game on my phone that he beat me. So it didn't take me too long to figure that one out. But no, obviously me and Igor go way back. I think I was one of the first people he met when he came to Canada. Obviously living with him for a year, and he's got the big wedding this summer that I'm a part of too.
Yeah.
So no, we're still pretty tight, and it's tough to connect during the season, obviously with the busy schedules. But no, it was cool to see him break it, and I'm sure there'll be other guys that break my records for sure.
Given all those connections, how nice is it to see this team performing well and sitting near the top of the North Division? It's been a couple seasons.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, I've actually watched quite a few games this year. Yeah, and the team's playing great. I think they won 7 in a row there before the loss the other night in Toronto, and then obviously a big win last night. So, no, I keep close tabs when they're playing and we're not playing. I try to throw the game on and keep up with what's going down there, and obviously pretty close with Belsey, the head coach. He was my assistant my second year, and we have a great relationship. And like I said, I'm tight with the equipment staff down there and the medical team. So no, anytime I see any of those guys and see them winning is great. And yeah, happy for the team and the city of Belleville for sure.
All right, just a couple more thoughts on Ottawa and your season here before we let you go. Obviously, there's been a lot of change in the organization. You got Jacques Martin and Daniel Alfredson behind the bench with you now. What has that experience been like to learn from a couple of guys with the pedigree that they bring?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Obviously, with Alfie, I've watched him play since I was pretty much out of the womb. So, and then obviously with our new coach, I've seen him a lot on TV growing up when he was behind the Habs bench. So, no, they both bring a ton of experience. Obviously, Jacques is 2 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh, and Alfie's a Hall of Famer. So whenever they're giving you notes, you obviously tend to listen, and they know what they're talking about. So no, it's been great. The new additions, there's been a lot of change, like you said, but everyone's been great to me and great to everyone in the organization, and it's been awesome. Obviously, we would just love a few more wins on the ice to add on to that, and hopefully that's coming.
Yeah, and a half a season still to play, so obviously there is room to still finish strong and have some concrete results this season. How do you guys kind of shift that mindset now and build off this win over San Jose and continue into the second half?
Yeah, no, obviously getting that win the other night was a lot of weight off the shoulders, to say the least. And, we got some games in hand, and, who knows if we go on a little run here, anything can happen. So, no, we're gonna battle right to the end and try to turn the ship around, before it's too late. And, there's definitely no quit, and everyone's still pretty upbeat. So, that's how it's got to be. And, like I said, just hopefully we can squeeze out a few more wins and string a few together.
All right, so there's Drake Batherson from the Ottawa Senators as we continue on the Belleville Sens podcast. Really good chat. Always nice to catch up with Drake. Guy hasn't changed an ounce since making it big in the NHL. And for me, it was really cool to hear that he still keeps a pretty close eye on what's happening here in Belleville and is watching the games, much like we do to Ottawa's games.
Yeah, and he's definitely a student of the game. That's one thing I will say. Just listen to him talk and being so proud of his old teammate Igor Sokolov as well, breaking some of his records. He shows he's got that East Coast mentality. He's got the East Coast personality, and that's so awesome to see. And of course, his dad, Norm Batherson, had a brief connection with the Belleville Bulls back in the late 80s, early 90s there. So he's got a lot of experience in Belleville, and it's so amazing to see him and getting his opportunity in Ottawa and learning from Belleville. And that's the nice part, because some guys, once they leave the AHL, they go to the NHL, they maybe don't pay attention as much, or they kind of just forget their roots or where they come from.
Yeah.
But Drake Batherson is not that guy at all. And like I said, I fully believe him when he says he wants to watch Belleville. He wants to learn from them even too, and see kind of how the team operates, and that's awesome to see. And of course, he knows a lot of the guys on this team, including Dave Bell, the head coach, who was his assistant back in his second year, like he mentioned in the interview. So he's the type of guy that you like having as a teammate. Good guy in the room and on all the way around on the ice too. He certainly shows his worth, and very much a student of the game, like I said.
Try to get some more Belleville Sens alums on the podcast as well. Shoot us a tweet or a message on social media at Belleville Sens. Let us know who you want to hear from next. We'll try to line that up for you. When we come back, we tee up the week to come with 3 games on deck for the Belleville Sens. Stay with us.
Big divisional games will make February huge. Let your Belleville Senators hear you cheer.
And he gets robbed by the left pad of Matt Sogard.
Saturday, February 10th, 7 p.m. Sens play the Utica Comets, AHL affiliate of the New Jersey Devils, for Women in Hockey Night, celebrating women in hockey within our community and around the world. Pre-game panel with special guests. More in 2024 with your Belleville Senators. See BellevilleSens.com.
Go, Sens, go!
Last segment of the episode 11 of the Belleville Sens podcast. David Foote and Brock Ormond here with you. Thanks again to Drake Batherson for his time. And again, really nice to catch up with former players who have spent some time here. And much like the old Belleville Bulls days, you hear stories from these guys just about how much their time in Belleville means. Regardless of how short it is. Drake was only here for a couple of seasons, but you can tell that the area kind of connected with him and resonated with him, and he's not alone in that feeling, I know for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you got guys like Josh Norris up there right now, Eric Brandstrom, who was here in Belleville. They all have, more than likely, have the same thoughts and feelings about Belleville. And it's one of those cities that it's a small town. Maybe some people aren't familiar with it coming in from different places, but they certainly it certainly catches them when they come here, which is amazing to see. And for Drake Batherson, the type of guy that, he has that East Coast sort of aura about him that he definitely can buy in or come into a place like Belleville and really fit in well. And he's been just outstanding all the way around, and we talked about his experience in Belleville, all those points he racked up, goes to Ottawa and does pretty much the same, and now it's all about getting them to a top position, top 5 at least, to get into a wild card spot and bring postseason hockey back to Ottawa and have a really good feeling of turning things around for that club. So he's been great for them.
Again, sitting in third place coming into the week this week, a couple points out of second, and the Sens will look to gain hopefully 6 more points this week, as many as they can out of their 3 games, including Wednesday night, the 17th of January at Utica, Friday night in Laval, the 19th, and then the quick turnaround after some travel back home to welcome Laval for Bell Let's Talk night on Saturday, January 20th. What are you looking to see out of the Sens this week, Brock?
Yeah, the game against Utica will be a really interesting one. They've only played once this season, which is feels weird to say halfway through the year, but Bell making the second trip. Their last one was pretty successful, came back from 3-1 down to win 6-3. So the Sens, trying to not look too far ahead to Laval. Those games are always so tough, and it's getting tighter now between Belleville and Laval. The Rocket overcame a pretty tough start. Now all of a sudden they're 4 points back at Belleville, though Belleville does have 1 game in hand. So those 2 games will be crucial, but that game against Utica, Belleville can't overlook that. 7 points separating the 2 teams, with Utica actually having a game in hand on Belleville with 33 points, right at .500. A team that's definitely not found their footing in terms of consistency this year, but they have a decent roster. They got the New Jersey Devils aspect as well. They coming in from that team that's been doing so well lately, but a lot of veteran guys and guys that have been around the block a time or two. Joe Gambardella, Arno Durando as well, and you mix it in with some young guys like Michael Vukjevic, who is one of those guys that really shone in junior hockey, which was amazing to see. And then Akira Schmidt coming back from the Devils, and paired with Eric Shulgren, a former Toronto Marley and Maple Leaf. They got a good balanced attack there, and Kevin Dineen is a very experienced head coach. One of the coaches that stuck out for me in the AHL, of course, he coached in the World Championships with the women's as well, and so he's been around the block with various experiences and coaching well in the AHL. That consistency definitely has been an issue for Utica, and if they can get some offense out of their all-star Graham Clark as well, that'll be key for them. But for Belleville, just stick to their game plan that worked, and outside of that 8-0 loss against Toronto, they have been rolling. 8 wins in 9 games, and ever since the end of November, it seems like Belleville has been one of the stronger teams in the league, just based off of their system of the strong goaltending. They give up some chances, but then they come right back and start piling on the opportunities and get goals out of it. So definitely a good transition game will be key against that Utica team in particular, who's got, like I say, a lot of veteran presence. And
you talk about that Laval Rocket team that was in the basement for basically the first 3 months of the season, October, November, and much of December, and now have gone on a real run here in January, as we kind of expected they would. They figured it out. Everybody's kind of starting to click. I think they've been steadied by the presence of Arbor Xhekaj on the back end, instilling some fear, not fighting, but, learning to play defensive hockey at the professional level. Their goaltending is not the greatest, but they've got enough firepower up front, and guys like Joshua Waugh and others that can really make you pay if you make mistakes. And if Belleville's in one of those moods, if you will, where the offense isn't clicking, they could be in for a pretty competitive couple of games against the Laval Rocket.
Yeah, and Laval, one of those teams that it doesn't matter how you start, it's kind of how you finish, and it's still halfway through, so they still haven't finished strong just yet. But Belleville seems to have had a lot of success the last couple of years. They went 9-3 or something like that last year against them, but it seems like every other team Laval played well enough, just well enough to get in. But Belleville seemed to be their kryptonite, and this year it's kind of the same story. Only one victory, and it was after they came back from 4-0 down. So Belleville has definitely had the upper hand, but again, they can't go off of past experiences or past results. They got to be able to just push forward and take a couple of big victories. And again, they got the travel to Laval from Utica. Then they got the travel back to Belleville, and they get in and play on the Saturday. So the timing is going to be a little bit tough, but Belleville can weather the storm, especially in that second game. In the first 10 minutes or so, then they'll be in a good spot for sure. But Place Bell is always a fun place to watch and call a game, and I imagine for you to see the Rocket fans. They definitely build off from their Montreal counterparts and how loud they can get. So, but Belleville hasn't been intimidated by that whatsoever, and so all they got to do is just keep the motor steady and keep calm, try to block out the noise like they say, and they'll be all right. But Laval's really started to come on strong lately.
Yeah, Laval's one of those buildings where you just love to win in because the fans are so loud and so vocal and so in the game that when the away team goes up, it gets pretty quiet in there, and it's always nice when you can pick up a couple points in a rival's building like that. So, again, on Wednesday, January 17th, depending on when you're listening to this episode of the show, Wednesday, January 17th, the Sens are in Utica to take on the Utica Comets, 6:50 on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network, actually, for all three of these games. Friday the 19th in Laval, and then back here at home on Saturday, January 20th against the Rocket. Bell Let's Talk Night on Saturday, so the first 1,500 fans in the building will get a free Bell Let's Talk toque, and I mentioned it on the broadcast earlier this week that if you've been to a few Bell Let's Talk days and you're accumulating some blue toques, these ones are a little bit differently designed than those pom-pom ones we've had the last few seasons. So don't stay away because you've already got a Bell Let's Talk toque. We'll also be sharing, again, some messages about the importance of mental health and keeping that a priority and the things that we can do to help improve our mental health because it's obviously such an important part of life these days more than ever. So Bell Let's Talk Night on January 20th. Tickets at Ticketmaster.ca or the Ticket Hub at BellevilleSens.com. I like the Sens' chances this week, Brock, in general, if they can just, like you said, keep sticking to the plan and remember what helped them win those 7 games in a row and maybe also in the back of their minds think about what led to that 8-0 loss in Toronto and just try not to repeat that again.
Yeah, discipline is the key for sure. The discipline kind of slipped away for them a little bit on Friday, and Dave Bell mentioned it too, and just said they had to turn the page and get back to what was working for them on Sunday, and they did that to their credit, which is again, goes to show you the value of just keeping calm and not overexerting yourself or not getting too far in your head after one bad loss. And like you said, it doesn't matter what the score is, whether it's 8-0, 2-0, 20-0. It doesn't matter. It's just coming back and finding your way again and making it a different game. And Laval's Utica and Laval both have a lot of great offensive teams, and it's just trying to close off of those star players like a Graham Clark, Jan Mishak, Nathan Legare on Laval, just some of those tough guys. And defensively, Belleville's been strong lately. They just got to stick to that system and put themselves in the right position to win, and don't try and do things that maybe are outside of their comfort zone, and just stick to it and put some pucks in behind their defense, because that's where they're really the strongest, when they move that around and get good shots.
Big week of divisional games ahead. Again, all the games can be heard on the Belleville Sens Entertainment Network. Thanks again to Drake Batherson for his time. A big congratulations to goaltending coach for the Ottawa Senators, Justin Peters, on his performance. Thanks to Brock for being here and you for listening as well. We'll leave you with the highlight of the week this week, courtesy of Kyle Betts, a beauty on a penalty shot to help Belleville to the win over Toronto on Sunday. We're back next week. Have an excellent rest of the week, and thanks for listening to the Belleville Sens podcast. So Kyle Betts is going to get the penalty shot, his first in the AHL. Left-handed shot. The Flesherton native comes into the right circle. Betts shoots and scores!
What a shot!
What a finish from Kyle Betts for his first of the season. And it's 2-0 Belleville thanks to a penalty shot by Kyle Betts.
We went all in on that.